The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, March 13th, and today is National Dermatologist Day. It's also National Jewel Day, National Canine Veterans Day, National Coconut Torte Day, National Good Samaritan Day. And
you guys hear him?
Yeah. You with us, Dale?
There he is. I hear him now.
You guys hear me now?
Yes, sir. Hey, Jason.
Oh, there you guys are. Oh, shit. Well, shit. Here, let me start this off, because let me tell you what today's days are, you guys. All right. Today is National Dermatologist Day.
Up a pimple, folks.
Yep. It's also National Jewel Day. Everyone loves jewels. Maybe not the singer.
Are we talking
but
about a toothy coffee singer, or are we talking about jewelry?
I'm talking about like actual like rubies and diamonds. I'm so long. There's no way. Even after you're gone. There's no way that singer should have her own day. No. It's also National easy there. You guys are getting way too excited. Way too excited already. It's also National Canine Veterans Day, you guys. I know Rico has something to say about that. National Canine Veterans Day. You know, a lot of these law agencies have been retiring their police dogs, so you know what I mean. There's lots of canine veterans out there.
I think we're talking about the military ones, like the bomb sniffers.
Hey, you know, it's just National Canine Veterans Day, just in general. It's also this for Rico. It's National Coconut Torte Day.
Why me? Coconut torte? What does that have to do with me, Jason?
Yeah. And here's this
what are you implying there, Jason?
And here's for Dale. It's because Rico loves torts.
I love
Dale.
coconuts.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a torte?
You feel
and a
left out?
Jason?
You felt left out, Stone? Is that what that is?
I like coconuts.
All
Come
right.
on.
All right.
You're a tort. Jason's a retort.
I see what you did there. It's also National Good Samaritan Day today, you guys.
Oh, are you celebrating that one, Jace?
Well, I am. I'm one of the greatest Samaritans ever to walk the earth, Jenny Beth.
I'm usually not,
very good Samaritan.
I'm usually not all about, the whataboutism, but what about the bad Samaritans? Why don't we ever hear about them, man?
You know, I think they have. I think their days fall on the weekends, Rico.
I think Dale has a story about them.
Today is it's also National Open an Umbrella Indoors Day today, and you know it is raining over where I am. I don't know about you guys. I know Jenny Beth is raining on her.
Luck doesn't exist anymore, right? So
raining its ass off.
And it's also
is it really?
Yeah, it's dumping over here. Today is also National Letter to an Elder Day. So I think everyone's supposed to write you a letter, Dale.
Please write me.
Yeah.
Send pictures.
Yeah.
No
Just
dick pics, though.
yeah.
No dick pics.
Just be
I'm
glad
just glad
it's
the Dale's on
No
here, so I'm
dick
not
pics.
yelled at.
yeah. Be glad it's just not jail mail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jail mail from Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's catchy, Rico. That's catchy. It's also
I know, right?
national.
Put that into the next commercial.
This is one that's definitely for you, Rico. National Set a Good Example Day.
Yeah, well, because I got a young daughter.
Well, no, this one's for the daughter for Zozo. It's National Tell a Fairy Tale Day.
Oh, that's cute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
And last
And Jason, you do that every day.
and last but not least, it's also National Pistachio Day today, you guys. There's a lot of days today. Lots of
I love
days.
pistachio.
I do too.
That's right. I'll celebrate.
I'm with you. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are kicking it off with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who's been making... who's just here for his fast story today, here to, shake a leg and make it back to the West Coast, and he's out on the East Coast today. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, Jason, appreciate the frothy introduction there, and I'm going to be quick with mine because I have to change locations, and I have to admit I forgot I was on the East Coast and I got a late checkout, and it's already 12 o'clock, so don't be surprised if you hear some loud banging from the housekeeping any second now. Anyways,
Maybe some knocking on the door too, besides some loud banging.
Yeah,
right?
just tell him you need a pillow. Tell him you need a pillow.
Oh my God. Anyways, you guys are pervs.
Mm-hmm.
It is happening, y'all. The Trump administration, through Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, has finally made their way into the DEA's book. And they've got plenty to sift through, especially after the agency's fiscal year 2025 request that's in the budget right now included $1 billion, an increase from last year's $93.6 million for international drug control and $6.5 billion for drug interdiction. In addition, the fiscal year 2025 budget reiterates the need for the administration's October 2023 supplemental request. So I don't know why it's like a year and a half later, but whatever. DOGE is down, but don't you get too excited because, of course, they ain't cutting none of that shit. They focused in on one $699,000 NIH grant for a study that they call woke because it's on cannabis use disorder among LGBTQ plus individuals, non-binary people, and heterosexual women. So get your buckle up, y'all. I'm going to try to run through this one quickly. So it's not a particularly nuanced characterization. It's from Kyle Yeager, marijuana moment, by the way. That's not a particular nuanced characterization of the research project, but it focuses on examining risk factors for cannabis use disorder among not only sexually minority, gender diverse individuals, but the main point of the study is for heterosexual women and the connection with these other individuals and why they're all correlated. They all seem to be correlated. So they're putting the kibosh on that. Researchers at Ohio State University sought to identify similarities and differences in the effects of shared risk factors on cannabis use for these two groups, determine if differences in CU trajectories contribute to CUD disparities, and identify unique risk factors for SMWGD, according to NIH, which is sexual minority women, which is lesbian, bisexual, or queer women, and gender diverse sexual minorities assigned female at birth are elevated risk for cannabis use disorder compared to heterosexual women, with the disparity growing in the recent years, but little is known about how cannabis use risk processes unfold on a daily basis among sexual minority women and gender diverse individuals. And well, Researchers on the study were set to receive $699,139 in funding after having previously been awarded $715,000 last year. Marijuana Moment reached out to lead researcher Christina Dyer for comment, but she was not immediately available. The funding cut seems to fit a pattern under President Donald Trump's second term, which with research and spending that intersects with gender identity-related initiatives being increasingly targeted. Many advocates had hoped that rather than inhibiting cannabis research, Musk and his team at DOGE would seek to cut costs by targeting agencies such as the DEA that have perpetuated marijuana criminalization. It remains to be seen if DEA will continue to avoid any major funding or workforce cuts. This comes amid a recent revelation that marijuana is one of nearly 24 controversial or high-profile topics that staff and researchers at the National Cancer Institute are required to clear and get approval for with higher-ups before writing about, according to a recently leaked memo from within the federal agency. You heard that, Jason?
Say that one more time.
Did you hear that part?
No, I missed that part.
So this comes amid a recent revelation that the term marijuana is one of the nearly 24 controversial or high-profile topics that staff and researchers at the National Cancer Institute are required to clear with their higher-ups before even writing about.
Yeah, we covered that yesterday.
Yeah. You remember you were confused? Okay, just want to make sure you heard that again. The government directive, the government directive puts marijuana and opioids on a list along with vaccines, COVID-19, fluoride, measles, abortion, autism, diversity, and gender ideology, and other issues that are believed to be personal priorities of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy and Trump. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts recently urged Musk to target unnecessary federal enforcement agencies, marijuana consumers, and businesses as a key way to reduce spending by the federal government. But Musk, on his end, also raised eyebrows after arguing that it is a great idea to mandate drug testing of federal employees, but he pushes to make massive cuts to government agencies and spending. So, yeah, y'all, DOGE has a big target right in front of him with the DEA, but he's ignoring that and just wants to go, Musk and his cronies just want to go in right for what they call the woke spending, if any court, for any research. So it is what it is. It is what everybody voted for. And I'll hear what the team has to say for I9 News.
I don't see why this is such a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, I like this. I think this is great that they canceled this.
Jason, like, are you kidding? Like, this is what we're spending money on. Like,
exactly.
We don't actually focus on actual women's health.
Exactly.
You know, like, as somebody with PCOS, like, it'd be nice to have some more fucking research on that. It'd be nice to research things that are actually fucking going on.
That's not my point.
Not something that somebody got a grant writer to sit down and, like, get some fucking egregious spending for. Like, this is crazy. First of all, cannabis use disorder needs to we need to scale that back. Exactly. It's a nothing burger.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question on this. Okay, I just want to ask you a question. I hear you on that, and I can see how some folks get behind that. But what I'm saying is, why not start with the agency? Why not start cutting people first? Why not start?
Well, you guys cry and complain every time we cut people.
Hold on, Jason.
Just saying.
I'm asking Jenny Beth this. All right. If you have billions and billions of the agency that's being spent, you have multiple uses of these cases of DEA actual corruption within the DEA, recorded by a ton of other news sources, and but you're focusing on a small grant. Like we think the 700,000 is a lot to us, but that's very, very small compared to the amount of money they spend elsewhere and the amount of money that they've wasted on corruption. Why not start with the obvious things that you already have proof for? That's my only question there.
Totally fine. You can't fund the DEA when we have an opioid epidemic in our country right now. And so, yes, there's a lot of corruption and we need to weed all of that out. But I mean, this is a low hanging fruit. This is an easy nip in the bud, right?
Yep.
Like, Rico, explain to me why
add it to the balance sheet
matters. Please give me some justification that I can compute in my brain. Apparently, my trashy brain. Thanks, Strone in the comments. Break that down for me in a way that computes, that makes it,
because you're focusing on little things. Hold on, because they are focusing on little things where it's not fraud. They're boosting this up, but it's just little things that cause a distraction and get folks like us at each other's necks as to why or why not it's important. There's other things that they should be focusing on that there is a paper trail on, that they can start with that and put a bigger dent and have less people upset with what they're doing.
I think
instead they're just going after shit that they're just going after shit that divides Americans even further.
I think all government waste and everything is their target.
I understand that, and I hear you, Rico.
Yeah.
First of all, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of spending, and there's a lot of misuse in our government. We need to address all of it. I'm going to agree with you there. Definitely the corruption of DEA, as evidenced by this whole rescheduling hearings, right? So, there's plenty of things that we can address for sure. But my question was, tell me why this study is valid. Tell me the emergent reason that we need to have this research done.
We don't. There's no reason.
Well, because
they've been
no. Whether it affects you and me or not,
it
affects Americans. It affects people in this country, the country of America, where you're free to come and be whoever the fuck you want to be. It affects Americans. That's why. Why is he not attacking the outright fucking corruption that's in the DEA? This is just something to appease to the MAGA audience, and then that's it.
I don't think this is to appease the MAGA audience at all. This is just DOGE doing DOGE things and cutting unnecessary spending, and this spending is totally unnecessary, Stone.
I have a question for our elder, since it's Right and Elder Day today. Dale, can I ask you your opinion on cannabis use disorder?
Oh boy.
I think it's a truckload of horse shit.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
I think we all can agree. I
have been in and around people with serious drug addiction, substance abuse disorders for meth, coke, heroin, things like that.
Exactly.
And they keep trying to drag cannabis into that same zip code. Refuses to go there. Okay, I'm not saying I haven't met some people who can't stop smoking weed. I've also met a few that can't stop spanking their monkey. So are we going to call that a use disorder too? So I
think we should
disagree with a lot of what they try to do with this. And what I found, and I've got psychiatrists in the family, okay? If you give them money to go study something, they'll write a whole fucking vocabulary. They'll mentally masturbate for years as long as you keep paying them money.
That's true. That is so true.
Disagree with them. And oh my God, they're up in arms. My brother-in-law is a college professor, okay? And it's publish or perish. And if someone disagrees with what you said, now the fight's on. And when you stand back and go, you guys are fighting about what? It's like this DEI stuff, okay? If everyone agrees with it, fine. But the last election got lost in large measure because the pendulum swung so far to this side of the aisle. It's now swinging all the way back. We're watching it. And there's waste spending everywhere. And I was just talking to my son this morning about this, that prior to the New Deal, no one would be surprised about any of this stuff because the government just didn't fund all this shit. How now we've gotten to a point where we have a bureaucratic state, we're $30 trillion in debt, and we're going, you know what, we can't keep spending on everything. What is really important here? That's where the pissing match starts. If you're in those categories, you think this is really important. It's like we think weed is really important. For the average Joe Dokes that's paying the bill, you don't give a shit about whether you're gay or whether you smoke weed. He's got to pay his bills. He's got kids to raise. Eggs are going through the roof. Unemployment is, who knows what's going to happen here. That's why this last election got lost, because the Dems were not sitting down talking to, hey, Mary and Joe Dokes, give me your top 10 list of what we should be concerned about. And trust me, it didn't include DEI. It didn't include lesbian issues. I've got friends and family who are gay and lesbian. I don't care. But it doesn't meet the top 10 list for the average guy out there trying to put a roof over his head and feed his kids.
I feel like they're attacking. I feel like they're. Let's say this. We'll cut out. I'll be done. I just feel like they keep on attacking the symptoms, and they're not going after the root cause of all of this shit. The root cause is these bullshits, but instead they just want to single out just this one that'll get a select amount of people up in arms.
There's tons of things. There's tons of things they've been eliminating. This is just one of those things. There's tons.
In the cannabis?
Tons of things. Tons of things.
The DEA, Jason?
Tons of things. Tons of things.
This is it.
No.
What else in terms of DEA or under cannabis, Jason?
should not be surprised at what's coming because you look at how Donald Trump marketed himself to be elected and people responded to it. Why would you not continue that? Because that's what got you elected. You should not be surprised about that.
Right.
Not that I like it or, whatever. It worked. And, the Democrats, died on the Hill for principle, but they lost. Okay. And when you lose, and you're standing on the sidelines pissing and moaning about everything, you got to win. You can't die for a principle. Got to be pragmatic and realistic and find out how do we win elections. And then you can talk about what you're going to do to fix the problem. You lose the election.
Right.
It's like you're sitting on the bench. You're not even going to get called in the game.
Rachelle, Rachelle, what do you have to say about any of this?
I'm not surprised that this research is getting cut. It's a drag, but it's definitely not a surprise. And do I think that the average American actually cares? No, I don't. I think you're absolutely right in that they're more concerned about for the price of eggs and whatnot than they are about whether things are getting studied. But I also agree with Jenny Beth. It's what are we actually studying and where should the priority be, right?
Yeah, why couldn't this money go into cancer research with cannabis that affects a much wider range of Americans? And Rico, to your question, as far as what else have they removed as far as cannabis wise, as far as money that DOGE has removed, they removed the funding from USAID for Project SAM. So there's one for you.
Well, and
hold on, let me respond to that. Let me kind of respond to that real quickly. Haven't they cut Kevin?
You're cutting out, Rico. You're losing it, buddy. You're losing it.
Am I losing it?
Yeah.
Am I losing it?
Yeah. Censored you.
Yeah.
Kevin Sabet still has plenty of influence out there, so I don't think he's worried about any of that shit.
I think they are. But nonetheless, what are you going to say, Jenny Beth?
Congress. Why, when we're actually talking about the research and what's being done, we all know they cut this, no matter what your personal opinions are, for the small spend, what it was. What this was them once again trying to find a problem and why cannabis is dangerous and we shouldn't have it. They're not trying to find out what they can fix with cannabis. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with it or how to once again tell us that someone's addicted to it or a small marginalized community has a use disorder. This was
I agree. Total pandering. Total pander. I'm glad that this has been removed. I applaud it. I applaud it, you guys. That's what I have to say about that. But you know what I mean?
You would applaud that.
I would applaud that. 100%. I'm applauding that.
It's a bunch of bullshit. They should defund the DEA and put that.
You can't defund the DEA when you have
defund the DEA.
When you have a fentanyl epidemic going on across the country, Rico. Just look around New York and wait till you get back to LA. You'll see it all day, every day.
I've looked around New York. I've been walking around New York, and I see. I just smell weed and euros everywhere. That's it. I don't smell the garbage anymore. And truth be told, I really have not seen a lot of the homeless and the zombies I see walking around in LA. So I was very surprised by that. It's my first time out here in a couple of years. So I don't know. Cannabis is cleaned up the streets here in New York.
Stop it. Stop
Kathy
it.
Hochul did it. Come on, Rico.
No, it was
Tom Homan. Tom Homan. And on that, we are going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name.
That's right. I love haters.
I know. Hey, at least
Well,
they're looking.
well,
That's whether they hate me.
well. I guess you know what. Since Rico's out today, I think I'm gonna do my story last today, and we're gonna bump up some stories. You know what I'm saying? Because I know Stone needs to help his wife out today, and so we're all about helping women, and so we are gonna roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. You guys, that's right. Here we go. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to still save his law license. He is blunt. He doesn't smoke them. He's honest. He's unconcerned with public opinions and especially yours, and will show you how to defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. It's none of your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him in his own law office at the law office of Dale Schafer. It is attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. My story today is the Catalyst versus TrueLeaf lawsuit that got filed on Tuesday.
Break out your sandpaper condoms.
Yep. Watch out, because special lube's going to be necessary here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a pissing match between an MSO who seemed to be doing some nefarious stuff and an out front growing cannabis business here in California that literally had some stuff done that, if these allegations are true, this is pretty scandalous stuff. Here's the deal. In June of 2023, Catalyst signed an agreement to purchase a dispensary in Grover Beach. It's called 805 something. Anyway, it was a dispensary that was wholly owned. It was a corporation. All the stock was owned by a company called Harvest of California. Okay? And Harvest of California was a subsidiary of TrueLeaf. Land it sat on was owned by a company called BRLS Properties of California. And again, it was wholly owned or controlled by TrueLeaf. And so what Catalyst did is like, okay, you guys have a fire sale here. They're selling a dispensary for $37,500. And if you know anything about California cannabis industry, I've set a lot of businesses up, and you're talking high 6 figures, low 7 figures to get these things up and running. And they're selling it for $37,500. It's like going to buy a Mercedes on the lot, and a $100,000 Benz is for sale for $5,000. You'd better start kicking the tires and slamming the doors. Something's wrong with this picture. So what typically happens is you do an MOU or a LOI, a memorandum of understanding or letter of intent, and you go into a due diligence process, and you say, I want all your tax returns, all your debts, all your assets. I'm clean. I want to know what I'm buying. And when you figure that out, put together an agreement, and I've done a bunch of these where you put all the guarantees you can in there that you're being honest, you're warranting everything you're saying is true. And if anything comes back to haunt us, you're going to indemnify us. You put attorney's fees provisions in there. And in the case of Catalyst, because they were going to probably close this deal before the taxes were filed for 2023, put special provisions in there for taxes. If you're going to file a tax return for anything before we close this deal, you've got to give it to us at least 45 days ahead of filing, and we file it. Okay, so agreement was signed in June. In California, you can't just buy and sell a business. You got to at least do a 2-step process. Someone who was a previous owner, manager, director has to retain at least 20% of the business, and 80% can get sold. Once the DCC or our cannabis group approves the sale, then you take the next step and you buy the other 20%. This typically takes 4 to 6 months. So this one took 6 months. Okay? So they closed the deal in December. The property was bought. All the stock of this 805 is owned by Catalyst. So Harvest and TrueLeaf had absolutely no interest legally in this business. They'd sold it all. Okay? But it turns out some hanky-panky was going on. It was about October of 2023 that Catalyst filed an amended tax return for the tax year 2021. Now, this is in the face of this agreement that says, you guys told us all the tax returns are true, all the taxes are paid, and now you're amending. Okay, And it's like, did you lie in your tax returns or what's going on? But Catalyst knew nothing about this at the time. Okay? And what happened is TrueLeaf was going to try to challenge 280E. If you know anything about cannabis, you know 280E is a killer. Okay, you don't make any money. So they were going to take the position with the IRS that 280E doesn't apply to a cannabis business. I'm telling you, don't bet the farm on that. Okay, they did that, and then they sought a almost $305,000 tax return based upon this novel position. And again, Catalyst didn't know. But they were beginning to get a tingling feeling in their butt that something's going on here. You guys are going to get a $111 million return from the IRS on this novel theory. And they started asking questions. Hey, you guys doing this? Anything going on here? Crickets. Okay. The attorney for Catalyst was really trying to do his job, finding out what's going on here. And when they didn't get satisfactory answers, they went to the tax firm that had filed its returns, and TrueLeaf's general counsel said, nope, it's confidential. They can't talk to you. Listen, bitch, you guys are doing stuff. You're not supposed to be doing this. Okay? You warranted you weren't going to do this. You signed an agreement. You want all these documents. They wouldn't give it to them. Multiple attempts to find out what's going on. They finally notified the IRS that, hey, we own this company now. So the IRS promptly said, well, we're now going to audit this $305,000 return. And they kept looking. They found out that a check had been issued to 805, which they wholly owned. It was issued when they wholly owned it. And somehow this check got cashed. And we'll find out in discovery how this got cashed. But typically, you leave somebody on the books until you complete the sale. So we'll find out if that person from TrueLeaf had been involved in this nefarious cash-in of this, over $300,000 tax return. Now the IRS is going to want that money back. Okay? It looks like TrueLeaf took it, cashed it, and when they finally ponied up all of the returns, they had filed an amended return for 2022 also. They had filed a return for 2023, which they were specifically not allowed to do. They had to give it to Catalyst, and they were going to file it. So by the end of 2024, it's obvious that, that condom was made of sandpaper, okay? And we're getting this without any lube. And so what Catalyst has done now is said, all right, we're suing you for fraud, for intentional and negligent misrepresentations. We have an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing in contracts. They say you blew that, you lied to us, you were deceitful. California has a set of business laws that manage how businesses act with each other. And if the Unfair Practices Act is violated, they're claiming, hey, you were deceitful. That's a violation of that. They're suing them for punitive damages for malice and fraud here, for attorney's fees. And they've asked for declarations from the court that that tax return is ours. We want the money. Give it to us. And they've reserved the right to go in and ask for injunctions to stop TrueLeaf from doing anything further. So we're going to watch a major pissing match in the wide open out there between an MSO that set up all these businesses around the country. And if these allegations are true, and let me just emphasize they're allegations at this point, but if they're true, this is pretty scandalous stuff. So I'm going to throw it back at you guys for your comments and experience, but this is going to get ugly, guys.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm willing to bet that all of this is true. Just on initial read, I'm willing to bet that all of this is true because we already know that TrueLeave has operated so scandalously already in the past. We already know that the whole tax return that they did on this was pretty fraudulent because they tried claiming that all of their weed was THCA on this tax return even in the first place. So we already know that. Not to mention, this is the same company that had an employee die in their facility. and they basically showed no remorse whatsoever for the loss of a life under their supervision. So none of this would surprise me at all one bit. I'm still wondering how they were able to cash this check and how they were able to receive this check. I'm baffled by that part, and I'm wondering, Dale, like what's the real recourse? Is the IRS at some point going to come in and re-audit all of TRUELIEVE's books overall because due to this type of an action, and is Cash Patel going to come in and maybe see some prosecutions in this?
Well, I would like if they did what it's claimed to be done here. This is tax fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Intentional statements that are not true is fraud, perjury.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a crime. Yeah, and what Catalyst is going to have to do is to try and secure rights to get money out of TRUELIEVE, because if the government really turns and looks at them and sticks some microscopes up some of their orifices, they're going to find things here that they're not going to like.
Mm-hmm.
And a company that's an MSO like this, if they are cash sound, I'd be shocked. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you start taking money away from these folks, they crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I get so anal about these agreements when I'm doing them is that if you're buying a $100,000 car for $5,000, you'd better damn well look under the hood, get every assurance you can. And if you try to do everything you can to keep them on the straight and narrow, and they lie to you straight face, they steal money, they have no right. If they received a check for $805 when they no longer owned it, you're not telling anybody about it. That's fraud. That's conversion. That's theft.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like the word conversion. I think that's very, 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 very legal term for theft. I like conversion.
Well, it's the civil term. It's the tort term.
Yeah.
You guys talk about tort term.
Yeah,
it's the tort term for stealing, for larceny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And if these allegations are true, they definitely stole over $304,000, almost $305,000. Outright stole it.
Wouldn't they be entitled to interest and penalties too? On top of that,
we're suing for interest and punitive damages. Okay, you can really take a look at the value of TRUELIEVE if they get banged for this, and ask the jury to punish them. And I've seen runaway juries that just start throwing millions of dollars back. It's like, you're scandalous. You can piss a jury off for doing stuff like this. When it looks like the general counsel for Catalyst was sending specific emails, making phone calls, setting up meetings. And in response to that, they either didn't say anything, or what they did say was just patently false.
I mean, so, Kim Rivers, when this all comes up the top, is going to say something like, "Oh, we didn't intentionally mean to cash that check. It was just it got mailed to us and we cashed it and da 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 da." I don't see that as being a legal defense.
No. And I mean, I haven't read the purchase sale agreement, so I'm assuming it's a lot like things I've done and the situations I faced. Okay, but I try to box these people in. So you tell me everything is true, and if it's not, we're coming after your ass, because I don't want to buy an asset this cheap and find out that later you've got creditors you didn't tell me about, and the IRS is going to be a creditor. If they want their $305,000 back, they're a creditor. Okay. And who's going to pay it? And one of the things that the Catalyst attorney told TRUELIEVE said, TRUELIEVE said, we've got an identification in this agreement. Said, that ain't good enough, dude. We don't want you doing this stuff before it gets out of hand. And apparently they did it. So this is going to get brutal, and it should. If this takes like TRUELIEVE down for scandalous shit, it's like MedMen crashed and burned at some point because they were doing scandalous shit. If you catch them and nail their feet to the floor and don't give them any opportunity to make shit up about why they did it, confront them. This is why I love being a litigator when I was younger. I like to fucking punch people right in the face.
Oh, man. Jenny Beth, I know you got something you want to say about this.
I do. Yeah, just from my little compliance licensing brain. So I don't know what will happen if there's not criminal charges. If there's criminal charges, Dale, I guess maybe it would probably fall on Kim as the CEO, right? Which would then make her no longer eligible to be a license holder.
Well, you would hope that somebody would adjudicate her a fraud and then put into any conditions that she can no longer be involved in a corporation in any management director level at all.
But Jenny
I've seen
Beth.
that.
Oh no, go ahead, Dale. I'm sorry.
No, I've seen that. I handled a case down in Southern California where it turns out the guy that we were up against had been adjudicated a fraud and been ordered to never be involved in a corporation. He was running the goddamn corporation. It's like, why didn't somebody ask this question ahead of time? Because that's a death knell for these entrepreneurs that are sneaky and lie and shit. It's like, if we catch you there now, this is further evidence of fraud. Maybe it should be a crime now because you're not supposed to be doing this.
But Jenny Beth, TRUELIEVE, it started as a small business on Kim Rivers' kitchen table.
Yeah, and I hope Anna gets her kitchen table and throws it in her pool.
Oh man, that would be a great the Real Housewives of Cannabis World.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be good. Rachelle, what do you think about all this? Man.
I mean, I always love seeing the way that Elliot moves in this industry. He certainly keeps it interesting. So, our factory, we're getting ready to start manufacturing sandpaper condoms for the masses, and so that facility should be up and line in probably the next 30 days. What do you think about that, Stone?
Yeah, it sounds like a viable. No. Hey,
I mean, TRUELIEVE has a lot of employees, so they're going to get it all stuck to them too.
It'll be good. Hey, karma has impeccable timing and zero mercy. Weed for the people.
Weed for the people, and FAFO all day, every day.
We're about to find out.
That's right. They are. Man, stay tuned. And just so everybody knows, all these documents that we have, we're going to be posting on our website for you guys to be able to check out, review. That'll be up shortly after the show. Just so then that way anybody watching this, if they want to do and get their own read, they'll be able to see Dale's analysis of everything. And we do want to thank Catalyst for sharing this with us and allowing us to be the first ones to really cover this story. So thank you to them. Thank you to the CEO of Catalyst, Miss Anna Lewis, in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Always keeping it spicy. And we are going to roll right into the man who loves date night only because it's Delta 8 night in the great state of Texas. That's right. He's saying he is the man with a master plan with impeccable hair, just like Gavin Newsom, but he's really from Austin, Texas. That's right. It is the man, Mr. Stone Austin. Stone Slade. Yeah.
Killing me, bro. Killing me. Reporting live. Where am I, Jason?
You're in Austin, Texas.
ETX,
Austin, Texas. Right. That's for people that are illiterate.
Stop it. Here we go. House Bill 4242 just dropped. And surprise, surprise, it's another convoluted mess of regulations aimed at consumable hemp products. You think lawmakers would have learned by now that trying to control hemp is like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. But here we are. Let's break it down. This bill creates a new consumable hemp products account where Texas gets to collect fees, penalties, and even donations, all in the name of administering and enforcing hemp laws. In other words, another cash grab, because nothing says free market like forcing small businesses to hand over money just to stay legal. Then there's the licensing section, which tightens the noose around anyone trying to sell or manufacture hemp products. They're adding an expedited licensing process, but only if you're already in good standing, which, let's be real, it's just a way to make it easier for the well-connected to stay on top while small businesses jump through flaming hoops. Now let's talk testing. This bill adds more hoops for compliance, requiring lab testing for cannabinoids, heavy metals, pesticides, and here's the fun part, synthetic cannabinoids. Well, that sounds like great on the surface, but Texas lawmakers still don't seem to understand the difference between naturally occurring hemp compounds and the sketchy gas station Delta 8 sprayed on gummy worms and on hemp plants. Speaking of gummies, Texas is on a moral panic crusade against hemp products that might appeal to minors, which we've seen across the nation. And that means no more edibles shaped like fruit, animals, or anything that might resemble a cartoon. Because you know what's totally fine? Those colorful vodka bottles that look like candy, because of course, we only regulate things that have a powerful lobby behind them. And if you thought buying hemp online was safe, think again. The bill demands age verifications for online sales, requiring websites to either use an age verification service or make you upload a government ID. You know, Texans love handing over their personal data to random websites. What could possibly go wrong? Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with age verification when it comes to THC products. If it gets you high, it should be for adults, period. That's just that's just responsible regulation. But let's be real. This bill isn't about keeping THC out of kids' hands. It's just another bureaucratic nightmare that creates more hurdles for legal hemp businesses while doing nothing to stop gas stations and smoke shops from selling questionable, untested synthetics to anyone with cash. And just to sprinkle in some good old-fashioned xenophobia, there's a provision banning Chinese, Iranian, North Korean, and Russian entities from owning hemp farms in Texas. Now, I have no issues with properly vetting foreign entities that when it comes to agriculture, especially for something as highly regulated as hemp and cannabis. This is just common sense, but let's not pretend that it's about national security, because Texas lawmakers are cracking down on hemp sales. I think I just fucked that up, guys. Sorry about that.
God damn it, Stone.
I'm doing so good.
God damn it, Stone.
All right. Let's not pretend this is about national security, because while Texas lawmakers are cracking down on hemp sales, they're still perfectly fine with alcohol, tobacco, and prescription opioids being handed out like candy with far few restrictions. And never mind the fact that Saudi Arabia has been welcomed with open arms by Greg Abbott to invest in Texas oil with no problems of selling off chunks of natural resources to a kingdom that I last checked wasn't a beacon of democracy. But sure, hemp, that's the national security risk. Now, let's be real. This bill isn't about safety. It's about control and money. Texas politicians don't want to ban hemp outright. They just want to regulate it into submission, making sure that only the biggest players can afford to play the game. So here's the big question. Why is hemp still being treated like a threat? It's legal. It's been legal. The federal government said it's legal, but Texas is still acting like it's 1937, throwing up barriers while turning a blind eye to industries that actually do harm. Maybe, just maybe, if Texas lawmakers spent half as much time solving real problems as they do dreaming up new ways to suffocate hemp, we'd actually get somewhere. But hey, there's no money in that, is there? I'm Stone Slade for the High at 9 News.
Well, first off, Stone, thank you so much for covering this. This is a big deal. Brian Dombrowski says this one is not perfect, but with a few tweaks, it will be the one the industry needs to get behind. And it sounds like the industry in Texas is saying this is the bill that we need to get behind. We need to tweak it a little bit, and this is the thing that we need to get over the finish line. And this will eliminate SB3, which everybody's all up in arms about in your great red state of Texas, Stone. And you know what I mean?
SB3 is a terrible bill. Brian's right. With tweaks, this could be the one. But the way it is right now, it's definitely not.
Well, and what have we learned about passing not the one? Something is not always better than nothing, because when they give us something, they're like, you have something, nothing else. Fuck off.
Well, they are saying they just need to do a few tweaks, and I imagine that they can get those done with their state legislature before this bill gets finalized and through a few different committees before it gets that far. You're shaking your head, Dale. What are you gonna say?
No. Well, I'm watching here in California, and that was what we were told. Well, we could tweak this. As soon as it gets set up and people start making money and getting their feet planted, it's like, you're not taking it away from me now. So the tweaks then become difficult, if not impossible. So I'm tired of hearing the incrementalist and we'll just fix this, because money starts flowing and power politics get paid. And Stone's right. The people that are on top want to stay there, and they don't want anybody else to get access to this. And it just looks like more and more of overtax and overregulation, which is what the Republicans always accuse the Democrats of doing. But when you don't like the subject, they do the same goddamn thing. So it's like both sides have dirt on their hands. How are we going to fix this? Not this way.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on this, Rachelle? Big Texas.
We're moving.
All right, we're going to keep this moving. I wish everyone involved in this the best. I know we do need to get something in place in Texas, and we do want to make sure that we have a marketplace out there, because Texas is such a marketplace, and something like SB3 is just not going to be feasible. So shout out to all the people that are doing all the work out there, and I've seen all the pictures from all these different Texas lobby days and everything. I wish some of them would dress up a little bit more, but nonetheless, you know what I mean. I guess it's just Texas. You know what I mean. It's
Texas.
Yeah, and the worst part is it's Austin, so it's like the liberal part of town where the capital is, where everybody go. If it was a much more conservative place,
all over the state,
you know what I mean.
The red parts, Jason.
Well, on that, we're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day, and when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini doc now at colememo.com/mini-doc.
Oh, speaking of the wacky, we are back. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website just shortly after the show at www.high9news.com.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
All right, and we are back, and we are going to roll right into Miss Rachelle Gordon. She's recently happily married. She just had her birthday over the weekend. Am I right about that? Was it over the weekend?
That is correct.
Amazing. Happy birthday. I wish I had a happy birthday sound button over here for you, Rachelle. And she is the Lego champion of the world, on top of being the editor at Green State Magazine. That's right, it is none other than Miss Rachelle Gordon.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, get a happy birthday sound effect on your soundboard. And shout out to my husband, Kurt, and my friends in record group for throwing me a surprise party at Costco.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Glizzies for everybody.
It was amazing. But my article today, listen, guys, you're going to love this one. I am sick and tired of all the fake news out there about cannabis. I read an article in Newsweek a couple days ago that just pissed me off. I decided that I had to write about it. So, headline from Green State: the media is lying to you about legal weed. And I'm on one, so here we go. There's an old saying in journalism: if it bleeds, it leads. The idea is that sensational stories typically grab the reader's attention above all else. Looking at how the mainstream media is portraying marijuana, it's clear that drama and fake news are getting top billing. Earlier this week, a Newsweek headline caught my eye: America's marijuana legalization experiment is going up in smoke. Curious about what this popular publication had to say, I decided to click. The too long didn't read. The promises of cannabis reform were a sham. States that have legalized are questioning their decisions, and Americans are no safer with legal pot than they were under Prohibition. The article's author argues that many states have failed to curb the illicit market, and in many cases they aren't wrong. But there are reasons why regulated cannabis is having a hard time competing. Overtaxation, overregulation, and lack of consumer access. States are simply not setting cannabis up for success. In New York, a painstakingly slow rollout led to a proliferation of unlicensed stores that authorities are still trying to combat. Once dispensaries started to open, sticker shock forced many consumers back to the gray market. Not to mention that legal stores were few and far between, and many illicit shops are dupes for the real thing. But the price of weed is not the brand's fault. The cost of doing legal business is simply prohibitive. From compliance to aggressive tax rates, legal cannabis can't compete. The article also mentioned a recent survey showing an issue with illicit cannabis in California. What was left out was the fact that many of the state's residents live in communities that have banned retail, giving them no choice but to buy it illegally. The Golden State has also struggled to support its legal cannabis operators, dooming them to fail with exorbitant taxes before they could get off the ground. The topic of potency is another that is frequently called into question by the mainstream media, including the Newsweek piece. Anti-cannabis advocates are claiming modern marijuana is far too strong, leading to mental health problems and psychotic breaks. While there has been some noted correlation for those who are predisposed to conditions like schizophrenia, the science is shaky at best. Why the scare tactics? What about all the people finding relief from a litany of health issues thanks to cannabis? There are thousands, if not millions, of medical marijuana patients around the world, all of whom use it because they experience a better quality of life. From cancer to epilepsy, autism, chronic pain, glaucoma, AIDS, the list of conditions research indicates medical marijuana can ease grows all the time. Think about it like this. When a plane crashes, it dominates the headlines. No one talks about the thousands of flights that make it safely to their destination every day. An aviation disaster is rare but fascinating. The same could be easily said about the small minority of people who suffer adverse effects from cannabis. And don't even get me started on the consequences of America's favorite legal intoxicant, alcohol. And if this all wasn't enough, the Newsweek piece had another section that really sent me. More students getting high. The author referenced a 2023 article from the New York Times suggesting more high school kids in New York City are showing up to class stoned. Interestingly enough, they failed to mention a 2024 piece the Times ran, indicating cannabis use among minors is actually tumbling in states with legal pot. In fact, several studies have shown a correlation between cannabis reform and a decrease in adolescent consumption. Misinformation put forth in Newsweek is concerning given all of the data. Where were the fact checkers for this story? It's almost as if the mainstream media has a bias against cannabis. Gee, what a revelation. Why that seems to be fails to make sense, given that the plant offers many benefits and business opportunities re-ad dollars. I'm not saying journalists should ignore any potential risks associated with cannabis. They certainly exist. But fear-mongering and misinformation are how the plant became illegal in the first place. Let's at least give people all the facts and let them decide for themselves. What do you guys think about this? Why is Newsweek acting a fool? Why are they literally telling lies about cannabis? What do you guys think?
Because they're paid to, Rachelle.
Treated like everybody else. They lie about everything else. So why not us?
Yeah, because they're paid to. They're propaganda piece. They're paid to promote propaganda. That's what they do, and you know that's just kind of the name of the game. And thank goodness there's good, intelligent, honest writers like yourself out there to push back on all of the fake news. And whoever had Rachelle Gordon saying fake news twice on their bingo card today is really the winner. What do you?
The hysteria that they keep fanning the flames of, Michelle, been going on for a long time, and it's just unfortunate that they continue to do it. But the response today is one that we could never do 50 years ago or whatever it was when I started smoking weed, and we were trying to fight back with facts. Now you can do a piece and tell, Newsweek we're supposed to be upstanding. No, you're a lying sack of shit. Stop doing this. Look around. The people who have smoked weed and drunk alcohol go, you know what? I feel better after smoking weed. I think I won't consume as much alcohol. Now you're getting the attention of big lobbies. What we discovered 25 years ago is if you let people smoke weed, they stop taking so much opioids or psychotropics. So now you get the attention of the pharmaceutical industry. And if you don't understand, and people out there listening, the people who are running all this stuff have financial interest in it staying the way it is. Okay? They don't want to admit it, but If you look before we had all these goddamn rules about marijuana, how it was actually used over the last couple of millennium, humans haven't changed, cannabis hasn't changed. So what's changed is that interest groups did not want this to be legal anymore. Hemp was a challenge to DuPont, and they sucked marijuana in with it because of xenophobia. And people just don't want to let go of that shit. It's scandalous about human behavior, but here we are.
What do you got to say, Jenny?
I mean, I'm just wondering if Kevin Tibet paid for this article with his last USAID check.
Oh, I'm glad you said it, so I didn't have to.
I mean, no, it's ridiculous. Like, it's obviously false. But I think as we've looked through, the last election cycle, if we've looked through the last 10 years, like, news used to have these people called fact checkers. I think that they might have gotten their jobs cut because, like, I don't understand some of the things I read that are clearly fake. I thought, Jason, you were the only one that just kind of shoots from the hip and says whatever willy-nilly, right?
I don't shoot from I may shoot from the hip, but I'm on point and on target every time, all the time.
Where? We
know that.
For anything yet, so I'll keep that pushing. You know what I mean? Like, allegedly. It's unfortunate, and I think that right now we were poised to actually have some good changes in places like Texas and things like that, and this doesn't help.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my problem. Is just like the narrative, right? And that people are so easily led, and there's not a lot of critical thought going on.
No,
anymore.
Not at all.
So, that's the part that concerns me. I've been concerned about the mainstream narrative around cannabis for a long time. I thought that things were progressing, but given the cherry picking of facts that these reporters are putting out there, it's really frustrating. Not to say there aren't people who aren't doing a great job, right? Like, I think there are a lot of journalists in the mainstream who are crushing it. They're telling the truth. They're doing a great job. They're fair and they're balanced, right? But stories like this, it's just like, come on.
Yeah. It's like almost like a Forbes piece, how you just like pay and you just put out whatever your individual truth is and have no type of pushback, and boom. And that's just boom, is printed, done, paid for, puff piece. And there you have it.
Yeah. At least put a disclaimer on it. My God.
Yeah. This is paid for promotion.
For responding the way you did, pointed out that this is horse shit and stop saying it. Because the more times you do that, more people that look at these stories and go, yeah, come on, this is crap. And they stop following him. At some point they stop because people stop following him because they don't believe they're bullshit anymore. They'll find another story to run. The way this stuff works, clickbait's what it is.
It's almost like having like journalists being ambulance chasers. You know what I'm saying, Rachelle?
Well, and I was going to say, actually, on the other side of the coin, right? I understand the pressure because I'm under it too, right? Of like getting clicks. Like, we are under immense scrutiny. We are told to get clicks, like basically under any means necessary, right? And so, like, you have to be sensational in your title, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Like, I'll readily admit it, but at least like in the content, we're explaining both sides of the story. I don't feel like that's happening in this Newsweek piece.
When I find my stories, I'm always looking for a sensational title. Always.
Jason the sensational.
Yes, I only want to have sensational pieces, just fantastic, amazing pieces that intrigue people and, pull that emotion out of them and all of that goodness. You know what I mean? That's what good journalism is. Stop it. I don't believe in fake news at all. I don't support fake news or anything. That's why CNN is about to go under.
I was talking about your voice.
What?
Your voice. You have a voice for your show. Voice is different than your voice.
No, it's not. You're imagining things. Yeah.
There you go.
Jenny has a very vivid imagination, you guys. And on that, we're gonna roll into our final commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Then why are there 12 packs of bacon in your fridge?
And we are. I told you I would survive if we were in alive. I just told you that. No problem. Yeah, exactly. I told you I would live on Oregon Trail. No problem. I could do it. But nonetheless, we are going to roll into the girl with the Southern twang that loves to tell everyone a thing or two about life, liberty, freedom, truth, her own truth, and nothing but Jenny Beth's truth. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals, is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Okay, for every time you say impaired instead of impacted, I'm just going to say ATX.
It's not going to bother me. You live in California.
Okay.
If you want to dumb yourself down, you can go ahead and go and do that, Jenny Beth. Exactly. See?
There's so many things I could say right now, and I'm just going to be pleasant.
When you say ATX, his butt snaps shut like a cigar cutter.
Cute, Dale. Real cute.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, that's a visual I'm going to try to avoid for the rest of my life. Thank you. But, okay, so interesting story out of Washington. Should cannabis be treated like wheat or hops? Washington bill could reshape the industry. A new bill in Washington state could significantly reshape the cannabis industry and how its workers are treated. The state house has passed Bill 1141, which aims to extend collective bargaining rights to agricultural workers in the cannabis sector. Supporters of the bill argue it's a step toward fairness, ensuring that workers who cultivate, harvest, and process cannabis have the right to negotiate for better wages, job security, and improved working conditions, protections they currently lack. Jess Combs, a worker at Fat Panda, voiced her frustration during the bill's public hearing, stating, "We face the same unsafe conditions, slow pay, and lack of job security as others in the industry. But under current law, we can't organize to do anything about it. That exclusion just isn't fair. It undermines the entire industry. Currently, cannabis workers are allowed to unionize, but are excluded from the collective bargaining protections offered to other industries. The bill would bring them under the jurisdiction of the Public Employment Relations Commission, giving them more power to advocate for better working conditions. However, the bill is sparking controversy. Opponents argue that singling out cannabis for collective bargaining protections creates an unfair standard. They believe cannabis cultivation should be treated like any other agricultural industry in Washington, including wheat, hops, and apple farming industries, where collective bargaining is not required." Vicki Christopherson, executive director of the Washington Cannabis Business Association, raised concerns that the bill could further destabilize an already fragile industry. She pointed out that despite high sales numbers, many cannabis businesses are struggling with razor-thin profit margins due to oversupply and plummeting prices. In spite of the sales numbers you see for cannabis, very few businesses in this industry operate with a profit margin. Christopherson said, "Producers, the growers, are struggling the most under a frustrating oversupply of products and prices that have dipped extremely low. So low, we have trouble competing with the illicit market." Christopherson added that many original members of the association have already gone out of business due to these pressures, leaving numerous producer licenses dormant. She argued that cannabis cultivation is fundamentally agricultural and should be treated the same as other sectors like wheat and hops, which are not subject to collective bargaining requirements. At the very core, cannabis cultivation is agriculture and should be on the same playing field as our peers in the wheat, hops, and apple growers in Washington state, she said. With the bill passing the House by a narrow 55-40 margin, it now moves to the Senate for further deliberation. The outcome could set a significant precedent for how cannabis workers are treated compared to others in the agricultural section. So I think that this is an interesting one. We want to be treated like everybody else, but sometimes it bites us in the ass. And unfortunately, yes, profits are not high right now, and that's the price of doing business. However, if we were treating our employees fairly, if we weren't having situations like, Kim Rivers letting people die and then trying to get out of paying their family for it and things like that, then this wouldn't be necessary. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys, but if you've never had an employee catch their finger in a trim machine, then maybe you don't agree that we should be protecting our agriculture workers better.
I think this is great news overall, Jenny Beth. personally. And I ultimately I believe that cannabis should be treated as an agricultural commodity, and that cannabis farms and cultivation sites and whatnot should be treated as other agricultural businesses, and receive the same tax benefits as that our farmers receive, as far as crop insurance and all types of things like that.
Fair.
Well, they have legal fiction right now that cannabis is not an agricultural crop for a number of reasons when it grows in the goddamn ground. And, it's just, you shake your head. But there are reasons for that. And the agricultural lobbies are pretty powerful.
Yeah, they are.
They are not going to want someone to play games over whether any agricultural worker can collectively bargain. And it's a battle that's going to go on in any agricultural state. And I don't know that they're going to get a long ways. I agree, Jenny Beth, that you have to have protections for workers. Your labor laws have to protect them. Can't have them. I've the stories of women having to trim with their tops off and stuff like that. It's like, no, you can't have stupid shit like that going on. You can't have dangerous conditions. You can't have people breathing dust and things without taking appropriate protective gear for them, stuff like that. But the bigger issue of whether you can enforce against an industry trying to struggle the requirement that they use labor unions, that's still going to be a tough nut to crack. And my grandpa was a Teamster, so I'm all for labor unions. But there's a size requirement that, for practical purposes, you can't afford to do this if you're too small. Okay? And so California's played around with this. Is it 20? Is it 50? We've gone around this. How many does it take? It's profitability. Okay? If you can't afford it, it's a killer. And then you start wars with groups you don't need to be fighting with. It's all about power now. And changing this to an agricultural crop in California means you have a right to farm now.
Yep.
Okay. And they can't just tell you can't grow. I'm going to grow half acre is going to be all wheat. All weed. Too bad. I can grow tomatoes too.
Oh, that brings up an interesting compliance issue right there, Dale. Very interesting compliance issue. Yeah. Man.
We still struggle with this in California because it's a legal fiction. It's not an agricultural crop for reasons that they don't want to have to deal with it, but it is an agricultural crop. So there's a big gray area there. And I'm in a fight right now with our county because in our county, water rights go to agriculture over residents. Okay. And so the residents are up in arms, and we officially are not an agricultural business. It's like, look, shit grows in the ground by the sun. Okay? So the agriculture interests are watching closely because this could chip away at the agricultural rights on agricultural land. The NIMBYs out there don't want things close to their house. Well, your water rights and things are secondary to ag land. It's just a battle that most people don't even understand the nuance of. But there's big business involved in this, not just weed.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Rachelle?
I do like the idea of more protections, not less protections, but then that goes back into sort of some of the other issues that we're seeing with cannabis, with the overregulation and compliance piece. So, like, what will that do to the overall business? It's a tough situation. It's a tough issue.
Yeah, I'm personally I'm all for it. I'm all for this agricultural play, and that's where I think it needs to be in the beginning. First and foremost. And I did not know that about the agriculture thing, especially because our Central Valley here in California is such a vast wasteland, a desert. And you drive through and you see all the signs of all the farmers complaining about the state not giving them the water that they need, and the federal government not giving them the water that they need. And so that is super interesting. I think ultimately the cannabis lobby and the agriculture lobby need to come together on this. And I think they could be much more powerful if working together on this to fight these NIMBYs. If they were working together instead of working against each other. But
it's complicated. Very complicated.
I mean, not for nothing, I don't really see a whole point in unionizing if you don't have a collective bargaining agreement. That's kind of the meat and potatoes and the reason why you do this to begin with. So the fact that that's excluded from their agriculture and their traditional agriculture sectors, it's not lost on me that most of those workers are migrant workers. or, things like that. And so it's like, cool, we just don't care because those conditions are not necessarily safe. There's a reason, we have to do a tremendous amount of OSHA training. There's a reason that we have to, train to do pesticides application. There's a reason why all of this equipment is so dangerous. And there's a reason why they don't want to pay people what they should be paying them because they're disposable at that point.
Well, Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he just threw in a super chat who says, "Hello, hemp haters," which you got to love. And he also threw in another fun fact. He says, "Once it's all hemp, this is all fixed." Just saying, because hemp is considered an agricultural commodity, Dale. That would fix it all.
Because they already have their apple farmers and their other traditional agriculture industries also don't have collective bargaining agreements for their union.
Yeah. And even hemp is a legal fiction. Now, this ain't marijuana or it ain't weed. But when they try to define it, now there's legal fictions here. It's the same plant. They're trying to artificially make definitions here. And when you do it at 30,000 feet, ag people get concerned because they have riparian rights to water. California has done multiple new agreements over water. And right now, for every gallon of water in California, 10 people claim it. And the ag people are trying to maintain their position. So you're right. At some point, all these interests that are growing out of the ground have to come together to work together because there isn't enough water for all the people and all the crops they want to grow.
Not when the avocado people have it all.
Well, it's the almond growers that take it all. The almond growers. But at the same time, we need to work out some collective bargaining agreement with the state of Texas because the state of Texas could provide us a whole extra resource of water because they have so much of it and we need it. Not to mention, the state of California should not be dumping all of our rainwater back into the ocean. That would help out a lot too. But nonetheless, for a whole,
the rivers take it, isn't that right?
Yeah. It's a damn shame that they do all that. But nonetheless, I'm gonna roll into our final story of the day, you guys.
Up next, his North Star is X. You can disagree with him. He's not gonna care. He's not gonna listen. He's gonna tell you it's fake news, and then he's gonna go say a prayer to the patron saint of Donald Trump. Our high head honcho, Jason Beth.
That is very, very, very funny. Very funny, good, Jenny Beth. Yeah, very, very, very cute. Very, very, very cute. But you're gonna love this, Dale, because this is kind of keeping in theme with Jenny's story a little bit. But and at the same time, same with the theme that we've had today, which I would say is scandal, has been the theme of today's show, because the Oregon Secretary of State, Reed, that's his name, withdraws a scandal marred marijuana audit that led to Fagan's downfall, you guys. And Fagan was the former Secretary of State. That's right. New Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed on Wednesday withdrew the scandal-marred audit of the state's Liquor and Cannabis Commission that ended a predecessor's political career. In a quote, he says, "My team and I concluded that the section of the audit, the framework for the audit, and the potential predetermination of its conclusions imperiled the audit from the onset," Reed wrote. Former Secretary of State Shima Fagan resigned in disgrace in May of 2023 after reporting from Williamette Week revealed that she had taken a $10,000 per month consulting gig for the cannabis company Lamota, while her office audits division reviewed the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission. That's a story that we covered here on High at 9 News back then. The commission regulated Lamota along with other cannabis retailers, and the resulting marijuana-friendly audit, titled Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission. Oregon needs to modernize cannabis laws to help grow the state's economy and ensure equitable opportunities and benefits for all communities. Immediately came under scrutiny, you guys. Public records show that Fagan repeatedly pressed auditors to speak with Rosa Cazares, a Lamota owner and Fagan campaign donor, that she let Cazares edit a description of the audit. Fagan also didn't recuse herself from the audit until 2 months before its release, when most work was already done. And after Fagan's resignation, the Oregon Department of Justice recommended the Secretary of State's office remove the audit from its website while reviewing whether it
complied with auditing standards, you guys. Then Secretary of State LaVon Griffin Vivaldi, a Democratic former Monmouth County auditor appointed by Governor Tina Kotek to finish Fagan's term, declined to remove it. Griffin Vivaldi said at the time the audit was of the same quality as others released by the agency and should remain online. In a quote, they say, "The public interest in this case is best served by independent auditors providing evidence-supported recommendations to state government," she said. "Neither my review nor any other has uncovered a reason to think that this report is anything short of that standard," she said. And Reed, the former state treasurer elected as Secretary of State in November, said in a letter explaining his decision that he knew it was proper and just to remove the Cannabis Commission audit based on analysis from Steve Bergman, the new director of the Audits Division. He added that Griffin Vivaldi and previous agency leaders committed to implementing some improvements to the audit process recommended by the Department of Justice, but didn't do so. And the flawed section and framework of the audit, the failure to carry out processes, improvements, and public records exposed by investigative reporting, investigative reporting all evidence, a process that did not honor the agency's responsibility to Oregonians, Reed wrote. He said the audit team will revisit an audit of the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission in the future, you guys. So it sounds like they're going to scrap everything that they did and start all over again and waste more of the taxpayers' dollars on pretty much nothing, because to me, there's nothing to audit in Oregon because the price of weed has gone so low, it's really not even profitable to have a business there anymore. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I love that this audit was just as good as all the other audits that probably also sucked.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, when you scratch and sniff at government too much, you can smell the corruption going on. And it always makes me just think they found a little too much corruption. The smell was on their fingers too much. So let's close this thing down. And I have been in and around officials or former government officials who will do scandalous shit for money. And when you put money into the hands of some of these folks, it gets in places it shouldn't. I mean, that's we talked about earlier, funding stupid programs out there, spending money on things that were never supposed to be spent on. And, you know, it's a nice gig when you get an extra 10 grand a month for consulting and all you got to do is just be there because you're in a position to make decisions. That kind of stuff, that should be a crime. You should be eaten with a spork. When they get too close and they call the audit office, just makes you wonder, somebody's been told to back away and it's not looking any fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is total ridiculousness, I feel like, going on in Oregon. You know, just it doesn't sound like they should have started this in the first place. It sounds like it was all a political hit job from the jump street, and their actions of what they're doing right now just proves that theory and gets all the conspiracy. You know, there's a lot of good conspiracy people out there in Oregon, and they're gonna take this and head to the hills with this deal.
Oh, but this shouldn't even be an issue because every regulation should have built in a sunset and a revisiting it, make sure you're meeting your goals. And if you're not, stop it. And it should be audited regularly, whether people like it or not. Where's the money going? Are we achieving our goals? And if not, take a correction or knock this shit off. And that's why we are right now with this administrative state. People just kept throwing money at this stuff, and you give people money, they'll mental masturbate and write all kinds of shit that you don't need because, I'm going to keep getting money. And when you ask them, what are you doing with this? And they don't have a good explanation, like, I'm furthering the goals that the legislature or Congress told me to further, and go ahead and look up my skirt. You can't say that. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing, and it should be built into the system. We shouldn't have to be doing this right now, because if they say, go out and accomplish X, we'll give you this much money, and then you come back and you go, we didn't accomplish X. We got this much short. By the way, we need more money. Okay, audit it. Where'd the money go? And if you can't do it, take the eraser and wipe the shit off the books.
Yep.
That's why you have redundancies of regulations that, you know, now everybody's pissed off. Take a weed whacker to it.
Exactly.
We're doing, and maybe it's the wrong approach, but the trimming fat with a sledgehammer is what's happening right now. And don't get here again. is this is going to reset the bureaucratic states all over the place. And whether you like it or not, it's happening.
Yep.
So get prepared for it. And like I say, my popcorn's still popping because I'm watching. And
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Any final thoughts on this, Rachelle? All right. Any final thoughts on this, Jenny Beth?
No.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing today. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Anthony out there in the metaverse. Thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And we're off.